Hey everybody, wish you guys all well. It's been a little while since I put out a video, so I wanted to put this out. I wanted to share a post that I just put up, and it goes like this. I consider myself blessed to connect with many men who have rejected many of the cultural norms of today. I thought I was crazy in 2020, and these men reminded me that throughout history, few have always stood against many. Two weapons I encourage everyone to yield. Number one, humility. Never let your pride blind you. Never underestimate the strength of thy true enemies. Lead with this weapon. Number two is courage. Simultaneously, don't underestimate the overwhelming power of following your convictions. If in alignment with God, your enemies do not stand a chance. Unwavering belief in God is reserved for those who seek it, act on it, and ultimately become it. I've had most of these men on my podcast, and I encourage you to follow them and the content they put out regularly because they live it. And to be honest, it's most of the people that I've had on this podcast. And I'll actually just give the full list here. And that is Zachary Small, Justin Copeland, Jonathan Yapini, John Rennie, Frank Stevens, Akira the Don, Kala, Alexander Vivanco, Tyler Tott, Matthew Winder, Tony Davis, Anthony Miglarino, Timothy Regal, Jerry Men of Grit, Jerry Adams, Jeff Higgins, and a couple other names. Some of them will actually be on the podcast in the future. Um, and I go on to say here that I encourage you to follow them and the content they put out regularly because they live it. I think we need more men of courage and humility. And it's not easy to walk that balance of both, which I'll dive into towards the end of this. Um, God to me, because I mentioned God, right, is your alignment with God. Turns off a lot of people. Turned me off for a little bit in my life. I kind of always had that faith, but I wasn't living it. God to me is an objective truth. There is a right and wrong. And to live in alignment with this truth is the ability to both forgive and to be accountable and responsible. The alternative is to condemn and blame others. To love is to believe in yourself and others. You can't believe in others if you don't believe in yourself, um, in its truest sense. To see the best in yourself and in others, as well as to look at the ugly parts and take personal responsibility and change. And I want to share two quotes from the Bible that really express this. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. And Revelations 3:16. So then, because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth. And the reason I put that in there is because I think it's so easy to be lukewarm. It's so easy to sit on the fence. It's so easy to um, want to not be seen. When I made this podcast, it was one of my fears. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to speak. Who the hell am I? Right? Like I'm a nobody. But I talked myself out of that. That was the kind of talk that I had. And it as I often say, the truth is paradoxical. How do you enter the arena without being, I don't want it just to be about me, right? I would love a successful channel. I'd love this to grow. That's honest. But I don't want it to grow for the wrong reasons. I don't want to lead people the wrong path. The world is in chaos as it is. But if I don't speak anything, because I do have a lot of truth in me and I do have a lot of wisdom to share with people, I've spent a lot of time thinking about things and thinking, and I would see so many arguments and be the person to be the observer, just watching and understanding that if I say this, then this is going to be said and this, and I would talk myself out of action. So you have to enter the arena. You have to say the thing that you believe and be willing to have it deconstructed. And that's really where humility comes in. But you also need to have courage because a lot of people believe in lies in our culture. A lot of people just they believe things that are not true and they're stuck in their emotion. They just want to feel good. So you have to be able to it's almost like a cancer. We have become a cancerous society and we want to remove the tumor without hurting the individual because if you take too much of it, that's their whole identity. And you also have to realize people have they've identified with that cancer, and that you have to let go. You're not going to change everybody. Um, but I also wanted to bring up one other thing. I'm going to keep this video short. The last thing I want to bring up is the serenity prayer. This is often brought up with people who are in drug and alcohol recovery, but I believe recovery runs much deeper than these two issues, and addiction can present itself in a multitude of different ways, and some today widely socially accepted and even encouraged. And if you haven't heard it, the serenity prayer goes, God, grant me the strength to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Start today in accepting, for example, the past is in the past, and most things I can't control. But there are things in your life now that you can change. It can be as simple as cleaning your room or changing a bad habit with a good one. For me, it was cutting out porn. And you're not going to be perfect. You're going to screw up. You're going to fall. And that's where the mind wants to say, see, you're no good. Guilt and shame will keep people there. I'd be lying if I said I never relapsed. But, and I go on to say, and I really want to address that, changing a bad habit to a good one, and wisdom to know which things we can change and which we can't. True discernment. As I often say in other videos, enter the arena. Do not underestimate the power of a few deciding to go all in on their true self and putting to rest the dead, fearful, apathetic, jealous, and ultimately weak parts of themselves through pursuit of courage, wisdom, and understanding. And this all in is not easy. It's not for the weak. I speak a lot about Christ and the positive messages from him, but I attribute this kind of strength to those who willingly face adversity with a certain resolve in the midst of chaos and rage. Something else takes over when you're in alignment. It's not you personally, you putting out the fires and keeping everyone in check and fighting it's exhausting. There's a certain letting go underneath it. And this letting go is not passivity. This letting go is not, it's true surrender. True surrender it's like a warrior. It's like a warrior can't be thinking. You think you're dead. You have to really be in such a level of self-trust in your convictions and trusting a true self-trust, which really I think comes from peeling back the layers of what you really believe. And again, it's not an easy thing to do, because a lot of the ideas that we have that are wrong, we want to hold on to. We're proud, if we're honest, to admit it. But I attribute this kind of strength to those who willingly face adversity with a certain resolve in the midst of chaos and rage. Christ sweat blood, spent 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness alone, and was persecuted violently for sharing the message that the kingdom of heaven is within you and that you are forgiven. Treat others as you would like to be treated. No matter how many times you've fallen short, this is the message that I wanted to share. I was saying before with with relapse, and it can be anything. It can be just doing the wrong thing on a small scale. It could be getting angry. No matter how many times you've fallen short or messed up, you're only a loser when you stay down in the arena of life. You don't enter it. So my message to you is to rise and rise again until lambs become lions. Do not underestimate the influence that you can have for not only yourself, but everyone around you, just by becoming, by realizing, by going deeper within and going all in within.